皆さん、こんにちは。UConnect のアーサーです。前回はニック・エドワーズさんとの会話を紹介しました。結構長くお話しして40分ぐらいお話ししたんで、一部だけは公開したんですけど、いろんなコメントがあって、I decided to release the rest of it. So, ぜひ今回のエドワーズさんと僕との会話を楽しんでください。今回の会話もいつも通りに日本語と英語の字幕両方ついていますので、ぜひ自分のリスニングをご確認ください。This is a great opportunity for you to practice your listening. 今後もあなたが世界とつながれるようにネイティブ同士の会話を作っていきたいと思いますので、こんな人と話してほしいな、こんな人とお話できたら嬉しいなと思っている人がいましたら、ぜひコメント欄でシェアしてください。Well, anyways, let's get started.
It's funny that you say that though. So I don't know how much you know about me, but I'm American, but I was born in Germany and my parents are American. And yeah, so when I moved to the States when I was 8, but I didn't speak any German. I went to an international school. So I spoke English fluently, but I never lived in the States. And it was a nightmare trying to get connected with the kids in my school. They're like, "Oh yeah, like, do you know this band?" I'm like, "No." "Okay, but what about this?" "No." There's nothing to talk about. It was so like kuyashi for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's especially, Japanese people, even maybe in some ways more than Americans, have a really like strong sense of pride in their cultural identity.
That's for
Because
sure.
American people, especially as a country of, immigrants, there's just a lot of people all over the place with their cultural references that are so different from other groups of people. Whereas, in a homogenous society like Japan, there's a lot more, I guess, importance placed on knowing those cultural references so that you can be a part of the group. And so Japanese specifically I think it's important to know Japanese culture in order to really speak Japanese.
Yeah. I mean, like the thing is that they talk about how Japanese is a very, what is it, high context culture or high context culture or high context language. So like, it's funny because I studied Japanese for years, but in college we finally started learning Keigo, and I was like, okay, I'll learn Keigo, and that's kind of like one of the later things you learn. But when I come to Japan, I realize it's like so ingrained in the culture that you can't really speak Japanese without it.
Yeah.
You know?
Especially because it's one of those things where it's so like natural to Japanese people that there's people who are maybe, mewe, people who are I guess, like socially above you, but they're not so far above you that you need to be like in full bow mode the entire time, but you just need like desimasu.
Yeah, right.
So there's like really, really bare bones Keigo, and then there's like you gotta like pull out the big guns Keigo.
Yeah.
So
the big guns Keigo, I like that.
Gotta get real respectful.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I'm really curious to hear more about your music and what you're doing, because you said that's what really brought you here. So what are you doing related to music now?
Well, I release music with Universal Music Japan at the moment.
Cool.
I've been around the block music industry wise, but I mean in Japan they call it your major debut. That's not really a word we use in English, but my first release on a major record label was in 2013. So 3 years after I came to Japan.
Wow. And that's like singing?
A TV show.
A what?
I was actually on a TV show called Nodojiman Zawarudo. Where people from all over the world come and sing Japanese songs in kind of like a vaguely American Idol style, where it's a contest and they give you points instead of votes, because it's not like a season-long thing. It's a tokubetsuban.
I've seen that before, actually. Yeah, I've seen that TV show before. Man, that's awesome. You were on that? That's amazing.
Yeah, I actually, not to toot my own horn, but I won 3 times. So that's why I was, not to toot my own horn, but I'm gonna.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
I don't mean that in a I'm so great way. I just mean that the winning that was why I was able to get a record deal.
Yeah.
And then release music on a record label, on a major record label.
It's amazing. So I'm really curious to hear more about that. I mean, I don't know how much stuff you can share with me, but like what is something that was surprising to you after getting into the music industry in Japan?
Oh my gosh. How much more work there is that has nothing to do with music.
Okay.
And so, I think in any culture, businesses, especially the music industry, where depending on your situation, there can be a lot of zeros attached to those, the monetarily to that kind of work. There's just a lot of red tape that has to do with things that you, I guess, wouldn't even like the color of my hair, or like the way that they this isn't my natural hair color either, because I dye it all the time, to the to the bane of to the chagrin of my record executives. But a lot of when they're kind of deciding how to package you to the world, there's a lot more thought put into that than I ever really. I mean, now that I've been in this industry for so long, it's so obvious to me, but I just never really thought about it as I mean, basically as a child at the time. The first time I was on the TV show, I was 18. So technically not a child. Well, in Japan at the time, a child. I was 10. Newly an adult in America and still a child in Japan. And it was, there's just a lot of, you stand on stage for like an hour and a half or 2 hours or however long, but for those 2 hours, there's just so much like preparation involved. I think that was something, but I was, I guess, in a lot of ways fortunate, because I came to Japan right, as I just said, when I became an adult. So my life was going to be changing a lot anyways, just as a person. And because it was that like timing that I came to Japan, and especially since I lived in a not very populated area to Tokyo, everything changed at once. So it was very easy for me to just keep myself in a mode of like, whatever comes, just let it come. But it was definitely a lot of, culture shock, and then just growing up, and then also working, and those kind of things.
Dude, we need more people like you, Nick. I mean, there's so many people who have their dreams and they don't have the courage to face them, or to actually go for them, go for those, make them a reality. But like you did that, right? And of course, I'm sure there's luck involved, but it seems like you really put yourself out there. I don't know many people who have the courage that you do to like go to a foreign country and get on those TV shows and really like try to make it happen. That's amazing.
I really, people are very kind, and talk about that being courageous, but genuinely at the time, I was not even thinking about, like, I was not sheltered per se, but because I grew up in a not super populated area, and my my knowledge of the world was limited, it never really crossed my mind that I was doing anything that was like bold or daring. At the time, I was just like, I speak Japanese, I like to sing, bye mom. And, I mean, I never really was worried, that I was fortunate enough to be in the position where, worst case scenario, back to Oregon. But I wanted to do it, so I did it. I really wasn't thinking. I wasn't even that scared, because I didn't even know that I was supposed to be scared.
No, but I'm telling you, dude, that's so rare. Because like I'm kind of the same way too. Like I'm kind of like act now, think later, and then it'll work out somehow, So I'm kind of like, instead of debating and trying to weigh the pros and cons, I just do something, and I know I'm gonna mess it up. So then, like when the shit hits the fan, I'll just clean up my mess and like move forward, But many people, like especially in Japan, I don't know, you know, I meet all these people who are like, yeah, I would love to do this, or I'd love to try this. Oh, I can't do it, you know, I'm too busy, or I would never work. And they just shut themselves out, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean,
It's,
I wonder what it is that made you not even like think about that.
for me, I
Mhm.
think it was definitely in the same thing where, you know, think or act now, think later kind of
Mhm.
thing, as well as just I've always been the kind of person who would rather regret doing something than regret not doing something, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah,
And I didn't see any reason to not do what I wanted to do, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Is I wanted to be, you know, I tell this to my friends all the time who say things to me like, I think it's just a matter of knowing what you want.
Yeah.
And I think people tends to, especially in the world now where we have so much information at our
Mhm.
fingertips, that it's like information overload, and we're
Mhm.
thinking like we have all these options, and with this many options it's like, well, what do I do?
Mhm.
And it's hard to commit to like, this is the one thing that I want,
Mhm.
because you know that in I mean, obviously not everybody can just like become whatever they want. It
Yeah.
doesn't work that simply, but I mean, trying is
Mhm.
always, I think, the best option if you really
Yeah.
genuinely want to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny that you say that because, you know, I think that's the main reason why lots of Japanese people study English, but they can't really speak, is because they're afraid of failure. They're afraid of messing up or saying something strange. Like my whole work is dedicated to helping people overcome those mental blocks and actually connect with people in the real world. But have you felt that too, or have you not been really involved in like English stuff in Japan?
um as I well, now on my YouTube channel,
Hmm.
since the beginning of this year, I've been doing a once a week hour long. I guess technically it's, I guess, an English lesson,
Hmm.
but I talk more about language as a study as opposed to like teaching English. I teach
Right.
more about English,
Yeah, yeah,
as in the basics of it as a language, and not so
yeah. Hmm.
much like this is a cat, this is a
Yeah,
dog,
right,
kind of
right.
English. But my thing has always been, and I say this in the live streams that I do, but just, I mean, at the beginning of our conversation, we talked about that Japanese proverb of, you know, when you like something, you
Hmm.
become good at it. I
Yeah.
think that people, especially Japanese people, are get nervous about proclaiming
Hmm.
to really love something, because
Hmm.
it almost feels like they have pressure to like upkeep that
Hmm.
like desire. And I think especially because, you know, there's a culture in Japan where, you know, if you're in a classroom and there's a student who's really genuinely trying to
Mm.
speak English well, and they get laughed at
Yeah,
for trying.
yeah,
I think that, and then, you know, there's the whole, if a Japanese person is too interested in other cultures, then they like become not Japanese enough,
yeah,
and they get like ostracized a little
yeah,
bit. And I think people have, especially Japanese people, have this kind of innate desire to want to be a part of the group as much as
hmm,
possible. And I think people in every culture have that, but, you know,
yeah,
specifically Japanese
yeah,
people have it a stronger sense of that, I think.
hmm,
And I think the first step to being able to speak a language is really admitting that you really want to speak a language, and
yeah,
you might not be good at it yet, but to be able to like let go of
hmm,
um kind of the like being cool about stuff,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
being like, not, I'm not phased by
yeah,
things,
yeah,
is the first step to opening yourself up to, you know, making the mistakes that you need to make in order
yeah.
to overcome them.
Dude, I need to have you on again so we can talk about the philosophy of like language and stuff like
I
that.
love
I love
philosophy.
this. This is so good. Yeah. No,
Definitely my one of
yeah,
my favorite topics.
yeah. So I'm a bit of a language nerd too, but I care more about like historical, like the history
Yeah.
behind language and how, you know, I think, you know, when I was younger, like I said, I was born in Germany, and I've always been
Mhm.
kind of the kid between two worlds. When I was in Germany, I was the American kid and I was bullied. And when I went to
Yeah.
Boston, I was the German kid and I got bullied because I didn't,
Yeah.
they're like, it didn't even register with them that I was American because I could speak. They just thought I was like, oh, you're from Germany,
Yeah.
so do you hate like Americans because of the war and stuff? I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Come on, guys. But yeah, what I realize is that, the more you study language, you can kind of see how language has been affected by the cultures around it. So like if you look at Japanese, you can see the American influence, the Chinese influence, you can see all the other influences in it. And the more that I study it, the more I see we're all really tightly bound together. Like English doesn't exist without all the other languages and cultures that have influenced it. And it's the same thing with Japanese. And it kind of shows me that we're all the same human, and we're all
Yeah,
kind of,
absolutely.
not to sound cliche, but we're all like part of the same human family. And just, I think
Yeah.
understanding that is really important to actually being able to speak well.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Because I think, every country struggles with the otherism that exists in kind of being a citizen of a country, where it's you're a citizen of this country and everybody else is who is a citizen of not this country. So, and that's especially strong in Japan because of, historically and geographically, the isolation that, has Japan naturally and then willfully has kind of had in over history. That is especially strong in Japan, that kind of like, you're either Japanese or you're not Japanese. And that's something that isn't, I think, as real as it feels to people who are a part of it. And people want to be on the inside of it when they're when they're a part of it. So I think learning English and living abroad or that kind of thing can sometimes be scary if you're afraid that you're going to lose your kind of like identity. But I don't think that happens. That's just something that only exists as a fear. It doesn't really exist as a reality.
Yeah. Actually, I do want to ask you something about that. But one second, my camera's about to reset. So I'm actually like recording. The reason I'm like holding my thing now is because I want to like be closer to like looking at you and looking at the camera lens. I don't like to be looking down.
Don't worry about it. I'm not. It's not weird.
Yeah. I mean, I know you're a professional, so I'm so happy that Kyoko like messaged you. Like, I don't know how she finds these awesome people for me. It's wonderful.
I was very glad because I've watched your channel before. Yeah,
oh, really?
So I was like, oh my gosh, definitely. I would love to.
Really? Wait, you've seen my channel before? Why?
Yeah, definitely. Well, see, as you were saying that you're a language nerd. Same for me. I don't know why, but I watch a ton of videos about like teaching English.
Yeah.
Even though I am a native English speaker, because it's a different perspective, because you have, your my idea of English is not as what's the word that I'm looking for? It's not as academic as the perspective of as English from the perspective of somebody who learned it as a second language. So when I'm hearing people teach like the basics of English, I'm like, that's true. That's so weird. Things like, I don't know what I was watching a video on like dark and light R's the other day.
Okay.
And which I don't need that.
Was that Summer Sensei?
Dark and light R's. Well, it was like I don't remember it was a woman.
Okay. Was it like a foreign woman or a Japanese woman?
Oh, a foreign woman.
I think it's probably Summer.
But I don't think it was a specifically like made for Japanese people video.
Okay,
it was just
But just in general, you're watching them. Okay.
Yeah, general, like for anybody who wants to learn about dark and light R's.
Okay.
I was just like, well, that's fascinating, because I'd never thought about R as like being different, because it was just I knew how to speak it since I was little. So but I like watching videos like that. So I watch your videos on like, especially your videos on like clunky phrases that Japanese people tend to use that are like not really natural in English. Because those I'm always like, they do say that. And it is kind of weird.
On every single one of my videos, I get people saying like, no one says that, Arthur, you're just making stuff up. But
No, definitely, there's like and living in Japan,
Yeah.
it's funny because when you hear people speak English more than I actually speak it,
Yeah.
so I forget that it's weird because I get so used to Japanese people, because there's like a Japanese way of speaking English. I think that exists in any country that speaks English. They have their own kind of like tendencies, and the way that Japanese people, like the kind of, I guess, mistakes, what you would call them, that Japanese people tend to make in English becomes so normal to me that they don't even feel weird anymore. But I'm like, you know what, that is not how a native English speaker would say that is. So I was always fascinated by those videos.
Yeah, whenever I go back to the States, my mom says to me, Arthur, you've been in Japan too long. Your English is getting weirder. So,
Yeah. There's just like common, not even necessarily mistakes, but just like unnatural phrases that start to feel natural to you.
Yeah, dude, that's the most dangerous. People are always like it's funny because you talk to people, but then I see people kind of like turn their heads a little bit when I speak to them in the States now, because my way of saying things has changed so much. I need to spend more time in the States if I'm going to teach English.
And people spot it pretty quick too, because they'll be like, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "I'm literally from like 3 miles from here."
Yeah, right.
But especially with like, I think clothes and stuff too is for me, probably my haircut too. They're like, "You're not, can't be from here, clearly."
Yeah, dude, it's funny because like looking at you, you look totally normal to me, but then that's because I'm used to like I'm used to it, Like I remember one of the things that really surprised me when I first started seeing Japanese people like from Japan come to the States, especially like the girls, was they would have the bangs and then they would have like the long parts on the side of their face that would like, I know why they do that, but I remember thinking that they kind of look like aliens a little bit. And now I'm just so used to it.
So like, it seems so anime-ish.
Yeah.
But I've talked about that in one of my YouTube videos too, just like the difference in beauty standards, because American women, I mean, obviously not all, but tend to not do especially the straight across bang. And men rarely have this going on.
Yeah,
so,
right.
So it's, definitely different ideas of fashion.
Yeah. So let me ask you, so about your music career. So you've been doing this for a while now. What's something you're looking forward to in the future? What kind of goals do you have set for yourself?
I write all my own songs.
Really? Cool.
Yeah. So I write the music and the lyrics. And recently I've wanted to do a lot more. I love to be on stage and I love to perform and interact with people who are kind enough to listen to my music. But I really love to be in the studio and I like to write. So I want to do more writing for other artists. I recently did the lyrics for not quite an enka song, but a kind of like kaiokyuku, like a more older style Japanese
日本語
song.
で歌詞を書いてるってこと？
So this.
That's amazing, man. I want to be able to do that.
I think that is definitely because I studied Japanese by translating lyrics a lot, because I love the music. That kind of gave my like formative years of studying Japanese were very much rooted in the way that Japanese people use Japanese in songs. And of course just in art in general, because it's obviously it's similar to the way that they speak to an extent, but Japanese lyrics in particular have kind of they're more far removed from just regular speech than I would say like American or English songs. They kind of have a unique way, like there are things that they would write as lyrics but that they wouldn't actually say. Those that always really fascinated me. And I wanted to be able to, that was one of my main goals studying Japanese, is to be able to write lyrics in Japanese.
That makes sense.
So for that, sure.
Yeah, I've never tried writing lyrics in Japanese, and I've never even like I don't actually don't listen to much Japanese music. My favorite
Yeah.
Japanese artist is Nujabes, and he always does stuff with American artists. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, but but so that's man, that's dude, you're such an interesting guy. I kind of wish I did prepare a little bit better so I could ask more interesting questions, but I'll probably just have to have you on again.
For sure, I'd love to.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely the music thing is what I think. I mean, I have been, dabbling in I love linguistics as like as a field of
Yeah.
academia. I don't know why I keep saying like using all these like
That's
weird
fine, don't worry about
vocab
it.
because I read English so much more than I speak it because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
read
yeah.
it on all the words that pop into my head are like writing words. But so I've been having a lot of fun doing the live stream kind of like English philosophy
Yeah.
kind of videos and the comparing and contrasting of cultures.
Mhm.
So I want to do more work in, I guess it's almost like educational entertainment.
Yeah.
Some of those videos are so abstract that I don't know if anybody's really being educated, but I
Yeah.
like talking about it. So I always say that at the beginning of my live stream. I'm like, this is going to be an hour long and I'm going to talk about whatever I want to talk about. And if you don't learn anything, then that's just too bad, isn't it?
Okay, I'm definitely gonna I'm gonna check those out today after this call is over. I'm really curious to see like all the stuff you talk about. Man.
Yeah, I
So,
just did L&R. So that
oh,
was the
okay.
one that I do because
Light and dark
I
R.
knew that, well, teaching Japanese people L&R
Yeah.
is, I feel, as someone who's not an experienced teacher and does this as like a hobby, there's so much more to unteach than there is to actually teach, I feel, because there's so many misconceptions about, first of all, just about L&R being related in any way, because they're not really, but because of how Japanese is set up, it seems like they're kind of like two sides of the same coin when there's just a lot of unlearning that I need everybody to do, and I was not excited to be like, so get everything that you've ever heard.
I really feel the same way too. So so of course, I teach a lot of stuff on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I teach a lot of phrases and words. I'm going to start teaching a lot of communication related stuff. But I find my work with my students that I do coaching with, and I help them to, actually connect with English speakers and create a habit of speaking English with those people, not with teachers. But the most important thing for me is not to teach them, but to help them get rid of their preconceptions of what they should be doing.
Yeah.
I wish I could just say on my YouTube channel, hey guys, you don't need to learn anymore. You just need to like let go of all these like things that are holding you back and just try it and then you'll do it. But no one's ever going to watch a video like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I'm clicking on the abstract philosophical English videos.
Something I would click on though. I'm strange like that. But okay, dude. Well, this has been great talking to you. I just have one final question for you.
Yeah.
And that is, lots of Japanese people, particularly the people who watch my channel, they're interested in connecting with and making friends with people from other countries. They're learning English not for TOEIC or anything, but to actually connect with people. But a lot of them are really scared to do it. You need a lot of courage to like work up and try to build a connection with someone. But do you have any advice for Japanese people living in Japan about that?
I guess I don't know if I'm the one to give advice on this because I have like no English speaking friends because everybody's gone home. Because when I first came to Japan, I had more friends who were from America or from different parts of the world. But because I've been here for 10 years, the eventuality of, everybody going back to their country has left me in a English-free lifestyle. But I would say that the most important thing, and this is what I always tell people when they ask me how I learn Japanese, is to try and connect with people not based around learning a language, but around something else, something that you're interested in. Because I learned Japanese and was able to become really good at Japanese because of my love for music. And it had a lot less to do with me like going out of my way to like be immersed in Japanese so much as I was just enjoying what I was doing and things that I already enjoyed. So things that I already enjoyed and, you know, mixing those in with learning Japanese, listening to Japanese music, just entertainment in general. And then when I, you know, if I was just, 忠実にその I cannot speak English.
日本語でいいよ、別に。
if I was just if I just stay true to that like genuine you know enjoyment of what I'm doing, then I think that's really like the key. So when you're making relationships with, you know, American people or people from English speaking countries or whatever the case may be, I think it's important to connect with people based on, like, if you love baseball, then watch baseball games in English with the English commentary. Or if you love like dancing or whatever, well, dancing is would be an unfortunate one because you don't speak when you dance, but
Yeah, right.
but you know, if you look for, you know, foreign people or people who speak English who are dancers, and then, you know, build that relationship around shared interests. Because if you know, try and build a relationship with an American person just because they are native English speakers, then there's going to be a limit to how much you can really connect with someone when it's kind of based off like what you can do for me language wise. So if you just you take your hobbies and throw those into your obviously your interpersonal connections and into your studying. And I think that's like kind of the key to not getting bored of learning a language, and also, you know, in kind of investing yourself into a language. Yeah,
dude, I'm so happy you said that, because that's exactly what I want to tell everyone too. Like, you know, it's language isn't the content, it's just a framework for the content. And so like, if you say like, let's talk in English, it's like, okay, what are we going to talk about? You know, there's nothing to talk about, right? So like you said, don't study English, instead do things in English. Or don't talk with people for English, talk with them for a topic that you're interested in, you know.
Of course, there's going to be those people who are just super interested in English as, you know, a language. And that's, of course, fine too. But if that's the case, then, you know, look for native English speakers who are also really interested in English, because those people exist as well.
Yeah.
And you can talk about language if you want, but for the average English learner, your interest is not. I think there's a lot of Japanese people who learn English because they kind of like feel like they should.
Yeah.
And I always tell people, you know, if you really want to speak a language and like genuinely, and not want to speak a language because, you know, you think that it'll help you in this way or help you in that way, but if you just genuinely want to speak a language, then I think that's like the biggest motivator.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're just figure out what you like and then just do it in English, and that should be give you a lot of opportunities to learn.
Yeah, dude. Okay, this is a great ending, a great way to wrap up our discussion. It's so good talking to you, Nick. I really
thank you so much.
Yeah, and I hope to talk with you again soon.
For sure, absolutely.
Well, that's it for my conversation with Nick. 楽しんでいただけたらとても嬉しいです。忘れないでください。英語は科目ではなく、コミュニケーションを取るためのツールです。世界とつながるためのツールです。And my hope for you through UConnect is that you use English as a tool to connect with people. もし外国人と直面したら頭が真っ白になって言葉が出てこないということを経験したことがありましたら、ぜひ UConnect をご覧ください。UConnect のミッションは日本人が英語を学ぶだけではなく、実際に使える英語力を身につけて世界に飛び出していただくことです。I love Japan. I've decided to call Japan my home, and I want more people to connect to the world through English. そのためにいろんなコンテンツ、いろんな活動がありますので、詳しくは You can click up here or you can click the link in the description box below. As always, enjoy your English adventures. 一緒に世界とつながりましょう. See you next time. Thanks for watching another video. I hope this video was helpful for you and enjoyed it. If you want to support us, you can click up here and look at some of our previous videos. If you want to help us financially and join our activities, you can click here for more information. And if you want to learn how to not just speak English in a lesson, but speak it in the real world, you can click right here.